Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down something super important in the U.S. tax system, the ITIN.
This is a situation millions of people face. You've earned money here in the U.S., you want to do the right thing and pay your taxes, but you can't get a social security number. So, what's the move?
Well, the answer is a 9-digit number called an ITIN, or Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. And in this explainer, we're going to walk you through exactly what it is, how you get one, and maybe most importantly, why it's so much more than just a number on a tax form.
All right, let's dive right in. First things first, what exactly is an ITIN? Who's it for? And maybe just as important, what is it not for?
Okay, so the IRS rolled this program out way back in 1996, and they had one specific goal in mind: to give people a way to file their U.S. taxes, even if they don't have a social security number. Think of it as a tool, purely for tax processing, that helps the IRS keep track of returns from a whole lot of people. And this right here, this is probably the most important thing to understand. An ITIN is not a social security number. They are not the same thing. It doesn't give you permission to work in the U.S., it doesn't make you eligible for social security benefits, and it has absolutely zero impact on your immigration status. Its one and only job is tax reporting. That's it.
And you might be surprised by just how many different people use ITINs. We're talking about everyone from undocumented immigrants and certain students to the spouses and kids of people here on work visas, even foreign investors with U.S. income. And together, these folks contribute billions to the U.S. economy. Just to give you an idea, back in 2019, ITIN filers paid a net of $5.8 billion in taxes. That's a huge contribution.
Okay, so now that we've got a handle on what an ITIN is, the big question is, how do you actually apply for one? Let's walk through it, step by step. So this is where it all begins, Form W-7. This is the official application. Now, there's a really key detail here that's changed over the years. You can't just send this form in by itself anymore. You absolutely have to file it with your federal income tax return. You've got to prove you have a real tax reason for needing the number. When you look at it, the whole process really breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, fill out that W-7 form. Second, get all your supporting documents together. And third, just figure out how you're going to submit the whole package to the IRS. Okay, step 2 is where you really need to pay attention because the details are critical. You have to prove 2 things: who you are and your foreign status. And you have to do it with either your original documents or certified copies from the agency that actually issued them. And let me be clear, a copy you got notarized won't work. The IRS has a list of 13 approved documents. The easiest route, by far, is using a valid foreign passport. It's the only document that can do the job all by itself. If you don't have one, you'll need to send in at least 2 other documents from that list. All right, once you've got all your paperwork ready to go, you've got 3 ways to play it. You can mail everything in, but let's be honest, sending your original passport or birth certificate through the mail can be pretty stressful. A much better option for a lot of people is to go in person, either to a designated IRS center or to an authorized acceptance agent. Why? Because they can check out your original documents right there on the spot and hand them right back to you. No mailing required. So here's where things get really interesting. Once you have that ITN, its power doesn't just stop at filing taxes. It can actually be the key that opens the door to the entire U.S. financial system. Yeah, even though it wasn't designed for this, a ton of banks and credit unions have created programs specifically for people with ITINs. This means you might be able to open a checking or savings account, get a loan for a car, and even get a credit card to start building your credit history here in the U.S. It's a huge, huge step towards financial stability. And this quote from Ernesto, a house painter, it just perfectly captures the human element of all this.
For him, and for so many others, filing tax is about more than just following the rules. It's about creating an official record that says, hey, I'm here and I'm contributing. It's a record he hopes will help him down the road.
Okay, let's wrap this up with some absolutely essential info. The kind of stuff you really need to know to keep your ITIN safe and active.
And this is probably the #1 question on everyone's mind, and it causes a lot of anxiety. If I give all my personal information to the IRS, are they going to share it with immigration?
Well, the law is actually surprisingly clear here. There's something called Internal Revenue Code Section 6103, and it basically acts as a strong firewall. It says the IRS is generally forbidden from sharing your tax info with other government agencies, and that includes immigration. Now, there are some very, very narrow exceptions for criminal investigations that have a federal court order, but for almost every single filer, your information is protected.
Here's something else to keep in mind. Your ITIN doesn't last forever if you don't use it. If you go 3 straight years without filing a tax return, it's going to expire. If you need it again later on, you'll have to go through the whole renewal process, which is pretty much the same as applying for the first time.
Oh, and this is a big one. If your circumstances change and you actually become eligible for a Social Security number and you get one, you have to stop using your ITIN. I mean, immediately. From that moment on, your new SSN replaces it for everything related to taxes and work.
Look, if you ever get stuck, or maybe you lose your ITIN letter, or you just have a really specific question about your application, please don't guess. The IRS actually has a special phone line just for ITINs. You're definitely going to want to keep this number somewhere handy.
So, at the end of the day, an ITIN is so much more than just 9 digits on a form. Yeah, it starts out as a way to comply with tax law, but for so many people, it becomes that very first step toward building a real, verifiable financial identity in the United States. It's proof you're contributing, it's a key to financial services, and it's a powerful tool for building a future.